Welcome to another chat with a 30-day Comprehensible Input Challenge Champion. So, Comprehensible Input, I did 30 stories, which are 20 minutes each, and so it's a total of 10 hours of comprehensible input. And it's comprehensible because I'm using gestures and pictures and funny noises and so on to make sure that you can follow along with the story. That's what makes it comprehensible. But in the comprehensible input world, in my view, there's a bit of confusion because what a lot of people think is comprehensible input is actually transparent input. There are a lot of teaching methods out there whereby the teacher will tell you all about the words they're going to use in the input so that when they give you the input, you can hear each word and you think, I remember that word. I know what that word's doing in the sentence. And this is comprehensible input, to be sure, but it's a subset of comprehensible input called transparent input. And you feel good about it because you think you know what all the words are doing. But if you can follow along with the story, but you don't actually know what any of the words are doing yet, it's still comprehensible input, but I've been told it's painful by some people. And, it does take a leap of faith to believe that it will work, even if in that moment you don't know what each of the words are doing. And that's kind of why I'm doing this. So these stories are in a very simple constructed language called Toki Pona with only 120 words. And so the process runs much faster than with natural languages. So 10 hours is enough to get an idea. Or at least I hope so. We're about to find out with Luke. Welcome, Luke.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sitting through all the funny stories. Yeah.
It was my pleasure.
Oh, thanks. By the way, if you're watching or listening to this and you'd like to go check out the videos, you just have to go to YouTube and search for the abbreviation OPETP and it'll show up. So yeah, one video a day for 30 days. Okay, go on, Luke. Let's get to know you a bit. So, what's your background with languages? Have you learned other languages? How have you learned other languages? Or you tell me what you want to tell me. Let's get to know you a bit.
All right. I'll give you the short version because the long version is too long.
Okay.
But basically, a passion for language learning was opened up within me like 10 years ago. I was 20, 21 at the time. And from then on, I had always had the question in my mind, how do you learn a language? I'm sure if you're watching this video, if you're doing research at all, if you've, been bitten by the I gotta learn another language bug, you have searched on Google, how do you learn another language? And back then you would find different people. You would find like Benny Lewis, you would find Ollie Richards, you would find Steve Kaufman. And they're all telling you different things that worked for them. And I've always been a person who has always tried to find principles more than specific things. So if we're doing math, I want to know like, well, what's the principle of this? Like, I don't care that I got this equation right. I want to be able to get it right even when I don't understand, I want to be able to understand even when I don't have like this specific order of things. So I was constantly looking for principles, and because I wasn't finding any principles, I was never satisfied. But I also am the type of person who just jumps in and does stuff without really thinking about it. So those two dichotomies. I've tried everything. I've done rocket languages. I've done for almost every language, that's a common language. So like rocket languages, I've done Mosalingua, I've done Pimsleur, I've done Michelle Thomas, I've done flashcards, I know about AJAT, just everything in this online language learning space for self-learners, I've probably been in contact with at some point over the past 9 years.
Okay. So what's worked for you? And in which languages, if I might ask?
Yeah, so I never really found the answer until about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Well, maybe 7 years now. No, five. So I ended up going to China in 2016, and one of the huge reasons that I went over there was immersion. I've done everything, but never really stuck with anything. So like, but if I do immersion and I only speak Chinese and I do what I think it was Scott H. Young and his friend or whatever, and they went to 4 different countries and they stayed 3 months in each country and then they only spoke that language. You seen that?
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, I can do this. I'm going to go to China. So it was still a lot about language learning. And when I got there, you get into that foreign bubble. Like, it's not just easy to just go talk to random people on the street. Like, people online make it seem like, I don't know, like people are different outside of Western culture or outside of your country. Like, if you go to this country, people on the street are just going to randomly talk to you in whatever. And like, that's not it. Like, it's going to be the same thing as being in your country. You're just going to be a lot less helpful and you're going to feel a lot more helpless.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can pull a shawarma if that's your thing.
Yeah, but it's not common like maybe there's a difference between the idea of what's going to happen and then the reality of living in this magical life that we have, and you got to go out there and make that stuff happen. So while I was in China, I I was teaching a dance class, and one of my first private students became my business partner for 5 years in China. And she was amazing. And I owe the opportunity to have found out about what I know today, which is, ALG, comprehensible input, to her, because she gave me the time to research, and she owned a school that she'd created, and she just allowed me to be like, let's try this, let's try that, let's just change the curriculum left and right. And she just had my back the entire time. So if you've read From the Outside In, I lived the sentence in the book where he said, I was like a regal estateman, long on time and money and short on responsibilities. And she gave that to me. And it was just so amazing to be able to just, read Stephen Krashen and learn about AUA and all the other things that you kind of come in contact with once you start going down the comprehensible input rabbit hole, from one-word images to TPRS to the Big Green Book, to TPR, to just everything in this world, and getting deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, and then finally finding and understanding ALG because of the book From the Outside In, which I've probably read like 3 times, and every time, like, it's got to be a yearly read for me because it's just so amazing. Like, how he came to these conclusions, like, it's such an amazing book. I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, that's really, I suppose, one of the main inspirations for this particular experiment, because I remember reading From the Outside In and finding out about ALG. And on the one hand, it fits, the boot fits. On the other hand, if it's true, then why isn't this more widely known? That's kind of the thing in my head. And I realize it's a very hard sell. Just because it's true doesn't mean it's going to go mainstream easily. That's partly what I'm trying to do with this. I mean, so when you decided to take the challenge, I mean, you're already into ALG and stuff. So I imagine this experiment I'm doing kind of felt like something interesting from the get-go. Was it like that?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I think I saw your podcast with Alvaro from Natural Languages.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I think I saw it the day he posted it or the day
Right.
after he posted it. Um,
Cool.
and yeah, I was just like, this aligns with my values and everything that my life is about. Like, let me be a proponent of this, you
All
know.
right.
So let me take the first leap, and then, you know, I can tell all my friends about it, and every single conversation that comes up about language learning, I can talk about it, because as a as an educator myself in the past, I've given workshops and, you know, done what you're doing, but never in a way that was so not palatable, but just experiential.
Right.
And so that you have given us, this community of people who are trying to spread the knowledge of ALG, pure CI, to have a resource like this that's free online, and I can say, look, this is the reasons, and then doubts are going to come up as you go through it. We can talk through it. I can explain to you every single step of the process, why it works. I always say, you can't say anything to me because I have 8 billion case studies, because everybody who learns a first language is a case study for ALG. That's how I see it. So every step of I know why you're feeling that way. I know how, but to experience it yourself
As an adult.
as an adult, yeah, I never even thought of anything like this, and it's something that is definitely, like you were talking about, why isn't it more mainstream? Well, one, it's not an easy sell, and two, it's hard to see progress in a fast amount of time. So, you know, it's like, hey, you have to trust me for 200 hours of your life when you're a busy adult.
Exactly.
And then you'll start like kind of seeing it for like Spanish or French or any other language. I don't have time to I'm just going to look, if I do a 30-minute Pimsleur lesson and I'm repeating and listening and repeating and like remembering words and stuff like that, I feel like I'm doing something. Yeah. But here we're just sitting here and it's just like, you know, so yeah, there's definitely that going on.
You know, I think, well, I mean, I live in Turkey, and of course I come into contact with, well, Turks and Arabs and Europeans and different ones, Russians. What I'm finding is that people with a multilingual background are more likely to see the light, as it were, than somebody from the English-speaking world. And I think that's because everybody outside of the English-speaking world has to try and grapple with English at some point. And anybody who's succeeded with that knows that it wasn't the study, it was the exposure, it was the movies, it was the, you know, online gaming or whatever it was that actually helped them to make progress. So when I tell people who are not native English speakers and who have at least 2 languages, you know, some English going on, I tell them about this and they're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In a way that I get more pushback from native English speakers, or at least doubting, if you see what I mean. And like me, myself, it's like what I said in the beginning, comprehensible input, but yeah, if it's not transparent, if I can't keep track of the words and what they're doing, how is it ever going to go in? You know, there's a kind of anxiety with that.
Definitely. And I mean, it just goes back to another great quote from The Outside In. I mean, if adults haven't lost the ability to learn languages like children, they've gained the ability to try. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing the challenge and you're watching this video right now, that's where a lot of your doubts are going to come from, because you're trying to understand, because you're trying to catch every word, because
Yeah.
you're trying to, oh, that's what that means in English.
Right.
You're trying, and you know, learning, along with me always trying to find principles for everything, I always feel like things can be effortless,
Yeah.
but we try to complicate them. And I mean, I told a friend about this challenge, and I told her, all you do is you watch the videos. Just one video a day for 30 days. If you want to do it faster, you want to do 2 videos a day, go for it. Do whatever you want. Just watch the video, pay attention, and then that's what you do.
Yeah.
We were texting, and she was like, yeah, I've been listening to it in the background for 2 hours. And I was like, did I say to do that? What? I didn't say that that was going to help you learn the language.
Yeah.
You're going to think like, oh, well, it's been 2 hours. Like, I should definitely understand. I was like, that's not what you got to have the visual. It's
Yeah.
not complicated. Just do this one thing.
Well, well, there's an Arthur C. Clarke quote I like, which is that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So the subconscious is like a kind of very, very advanced technology that works in the background, but it's not actually magic. It does need data. And the data is meaning accompanied by forms. If it's in the background, where's the meaning coming from? Okay, you're not feeding your subconscious the data it needs. I mean, I don't know. Try that. I don't know.
Well,
no.
I mean, if we think deeper about that, you will get a benefit, but if you do 1,000 hours of that versus 1,000 hours of that accompanied by videos, all you're going to get is this sounds natural.
Right.
Like this. And when you start finally adding visuals, you might pick things up faster.
Yeah.
But like, we're going to the extreme end of like something you should never do. But yeah, is there going to be a
That's
benefit?
aging, though, isn't it?
Yes, but are you going to get like what you want, which is fluency in the language, which, oh my gosh, I hate that word, because everybody says, I want to be fluent in the language. And then they're like, let's define fluency. No, everybody knows when you say, I want to be fluent in the language, it means I want to be as good at this language as I am at my first language. They want to lower the goalposts because that's easier. It's like, oh, if you know 100 words and you can talk about your daily life, and then I can go to the bank, and then I can. No, nobody starts out thinking, well, I only want to be effective in 3 areas of my life.
Well, guess what? I can order food in 10 languages. That makes me a fluent polyglot. There you go, Alex. It's like, there you go.
We have different
standards together.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I classify it as life languages and play languages or fun languages. If you just want to, like, I went to Bali for a week or 2 weeks. I was taking TPRS classes online with this guy. We were telling funny stories. He was asking me questions. It was great. I went to Bali. I knew I said probably 3 sentences. I felt awesome. I was there on vacation. But if you want to learn a language that you could, flip on the TV at any time, read any book, converse about any topic, then that's a totally different story. So I think there are levels, but most people are playing at language learning, but they don't know it. It's like the idea versus the reality.
Yes. So very quickly, how many languages do you speak?
1.
Really?
Yes, I'm 800 hours into Chinese.
Right.
So I probably got about 1,000 to 1,200 more hours to go.
Right.
Spanish, I'm 527 hours in.
Right.
And yeah, because I only learned about this, like I said, like maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I took last year off. So I wasn't, yeah.
So on the European scale, would that be like, let's say maybe B2 in Chinese and B1 in Spanish? Would that be?
For me, it's, and I saw a comment where So I think it was on one of your videos where somebody said, no, maybe it was on Reddit about dreaming Spanish, where they said an all or nothing philosophy is a dangerous philosophy to live by. I understand what they were trying to say. But like I'm saying, I'm not trying to play at the language. There are languages I want to play with. It would be fun to just, we mostly speak English, but I can say like a funny thing, and then the people who know that language are like, ha, oh wow, cool. You like, so yeah, those are probably pretty good numbers. But for me, it's 0 to 100.
Sure. No, I'm don't misunderstand me here. I'm just thinking in terms of somebody watching this or using this for some kind of research.
Definitely. For
getting an idea of where you're at. Yeah.
Yes, I think those are good numbers.
Okay. So before we have our conversation, Toki Pona, which is unrehearsed, I should say. I don't know what you're going to say.
I don't know what I'm going to say.
So we have. I'd just like to just do a quick back and forth about the experiment itself, because of course the baseline concept is 0 Toki Pona coming into it. You watch 1 video a day for 30 days. You don't research or look anything up about Toki Pona. And then after day 30, the first thing we do is have a conversation. So what I'd like to do is gauge where you're at in relation to that baseline. So did you have any Toki Pona before you started watching the videos?
I didn't even know what it was.
Okay. In those 30 days, did you look anything up? Or
no?
Did you take any notes?
No.
No. Okay. You might be my first perfect candidate.
No.
No. What I mean,
I didn't do 30 days. I think I did 28 days.
Oh, really? Okay. Did you watch 1 video a day, or were there gaps, or?
So since I'm doing like 3 to 5 hours of Spanish a day, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just throw in an extra hour, but my schedule's really tight.
Yeah, cool.
So the first day and maybe the second day, I did 2 videos a day.
Right.
And then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually a lot, like this extra 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. So I ended up doing 1 a day.
Gotcha.
And then I missed a day because I just forgot.
Okay.
And then I was good. And then I did, I think, 2 videos 2 days ago, and then 2 videos today or yesterday, just because I knew we had this coming up. And so yeah, a few days of 2 days and 1 day missed, but around.
That'll do. No, that's good. Thank you very much. All right, let's do this. Sinao Toki.
Toki. Oh, and I do want to say before I started this, he asked me to write this down like right before we started the interview, like before he hit record. So it's not like I was thinking about this for days. So this is my first time speaking Toki Pona.
This is totally raw.
Totally raw. All right, here we go. Toki.
Toki.
Tempo pinila sina en meli sina musi tawa tomokasi tomo tomopi kasila.
Lon tempo pini mi tokieni lon sitelen tawa wan mi en meli mi li tawa weka li tawa makasi li musi
lon makasi
lon
tempo pini lili la me looking sitelen sina lili
lon
musi mute musi mute lon
tempo pini la sina kama tawa matuki anoseme.
Sama.
Tempo nila, sina lon America. Nili lon
Lon, lon,
sina lon
lon.
America. Tempo pini mutela, sina lon ma sonko. Seme.
Ma sonko
Junko, ma sonko.
lon, lon, lon.
Tempo pinila, mi lon matuki.
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 Oh, matuki, matuki.
Matuki. Tempo pinila, sina kama tawa matuki, ala.
Ala, ala, ala. Teso, tempo pini mutela. Mi, mio, Yan Musi, mi Toki, Yan Musi, pi matuki.
Mi sona. Sina sona e yan pimatuki.
Lon. Mi pininila mi yan lily sama. Mi yan lily sama. Mi toki yan lily sama.
Yeah, lon yan aleli sama sina.
Sina yan suli mia.
Mi sona toki. Adesso mi toki e toki pona lon tempo sulia. Sina kute taso e toki pona. Sina kute e toki pona lon tempo lili.
Luca.
Luca.
Tempo Luca.
No. Lon. That's very good. That's very good. I like it. Okay, what did we just talk about?
Oh, well, we went from me asking if you and your wife had a good time when you were in the woods and stuff like that, to you asking me about being in China, asking if I'd been in Turkey. I said that I used to have a friend who was Turkish that I would talk to a while ago. And then we ended off with me saying I'm like a baby, and you're like my adult or my dad in Toki Pona, and then you're saying, yeah, but I've been talking for a long time.
Yeah. That's quite good. Just for anybody listening, of course, your grandma's not there yet, of course.
Oh yeah. You were definitely. I mean, but as my Toki Pona father, I like, nobody can understand their kids when they're younger, but their parents,
No, anybody who watches this, who speaks Toki Pona would understand you. Your word order is correct, which is not nothing. And you are using a few prepositions already, and it's not bad. And when I say not bad, I mean compared to like is this guy speaking correct according to the book, right? But this it's a double-edged sword, this experiment I'm doing, because I've had others, and there's somebody else as well who will probably be on in the future, who has already studied a bit of Toki Pona and then watched the videos. And they are going to do better, and I know they're going to do better.
100%.
And the thing is, with ALG, The way I've been putting it is like ALG is like building a pyramid. Whereas studying a language and going it with that direction is like building a high rise. And the thing is, at an early stage of construction, the high rise is going to look better because you're pouring concrete on the 10th floor before you finish the base of the pyramid.
I love it.
What we're actually looking for is for the silent period to naturally end. And for that to happen, even in Toki Pona, the magic number is probably more like 50 hours at least.
Yeah.
What we're doing here is forced output. So this is actually not a demonstration of ALG. I think that's probably the best thing I can say right now, and it not be an own goal. You know, at least this is a demonstration enough that your subconscious can work stuff out for you in the background. I mean, would you agree with that, that it's given you an experience of that?
Yeah, and I was talking with my friend the other day, and I think it's prepped me for this conversation because I've been realizing that there's a lot of things in my life that I've been doing for a long time that I can't see the forest for the trees anymore. So if I had told myself 9 years ago, just watch the video, you don't have to translate any words.
Right.
You don't have to study any grammar. You don't have to do an SRS system. I would have been like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You gotta, like, because I didn't know there was a difference between learning a language naturally and learning a language as a skill.
Right.
But I would rather have a natural language than a high level skill, which may or may not reach a ceiling.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to put myself into that beginner's mindset of like, wow, this is my first encounter with comprehensible input. Yeah, it does seem impossible, but what did I do? I just watched the videos. I specifically tried not to think about word order or anything like that. And, you know, but if you are doing this, you're going to get that din in the head.
Right, exactly.
Din in the head, you're just like, Toki Pona is just going to like,
yeah.
That like sentences or 2-word phrases are just going to pop. You might not even know what they mean, but they're like rumbling around in your head.
That's the funny thing about the din in the head. You don't understand what it means. I have this with Russian because I'm doing this with Russian when I get the chance. And, you know, I have the din in the head, but I never understand what it is. I think that's funny. It's like the subconscious is turning it over. And it's like, it's like your conscious mind is like the CEO on the top floor, and you're on top of a vast organization. and you just get, you know, the higher level management sometimes walks into your office and says, you need to see this. And that's your subconscious bringing things to your attention. The din in the head is like downstairs, they're having a party. And sometimes you hear a bit of like a noise coming from the party downstairs. It's like, what's going on?
And then Janice said, after that, I went to, I love that with the downstairs party. And you're just catching wisps of words that are floating through the ventilation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what else could it have been than my subconscious? I'm watching the videos.
Yeah.
I didn't write anything down.
Right.
It's been almost, if not 30 days, almost 30 days.
Yeah.
Like if this was my first encounter with language learning, it would be life-changing. Well, hopefully I would realize that there's a difference between, you know, learning a language as a skill and learning a language naturally. And that's another thing that is different. You know, I said there's a difference between life languages and play languages.
Yeah.
You could also think of it as natural language learning and skill language learning. And if you're learning a language as a skill, that's fine. Do what you want. Do what you want. But you're learning a language, but you should at least know the difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that this project gives to people. It gives them awareness. And that's probably my biggest thing in this whole thing. 9 years ago, 10 years ago, there was no resources about this. There was nowhere to turn, no one to talk to. And at least you can make a decision now. Okay, I see what I can get if I do things this way.
Yes.
But I'm going to decide to go this other way because that fits my goals in my life better. Great. That's awesome. At least you had the chance to come over here and be like, no, I don't want to do comprehensible input. Instead of, oh, I've been learning a language for 4 years. I didn't know I was supposed to be counting hours. And I've actually only learned for 200 hours. And I've been set up with false expectations because some guru online said I could learn a complete language in 7 days.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that narrative is breaking down.
Yes.
Which is great. And it's not great because, oh, we can do whatever we want. You know, as a human, you put your hard work in, you can do what you want. But to have actual realities and actual expectations, and then you can do it this way or you can do it this way. Yes. Now you get the choice. And that to me is so beautiful. Yeah,
cool. No, it's good. Well, you know, you've already said very nice things about the experiments in general. I mean, what do you have any ideas? I mean, I've been asking people about their feedback about the course, positive or negative, what they might have done differently. If anybody else wants to try this kind of thing, what you would recommend. If somebody who wants to take the course for the first time, you know, what you might recommend them to watch out for, that kind of thing.
If you can answer all your own questions by thinking, how would I think if I was a 1 month old, if I was a baby? But that might take you 5 years to figure out. So, but the answers are there. What we're doing, I'm going to say we because I'm part of this community. Yeah. What we're doing here is as close, trying to replicate as close as possible to you coming out of the womb and learning your first language.
Yes.
So what I would recommend is that not everything is always going to be super fantastic lollipop, fairies, and rainbows. Like some of the videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like forcing myself to watch it because it's 7 o'clock at night, and you know, you do your best to make it entertaining, but I couldn't eat cake 30 days in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have to force yourself to watch some of the content. And I think that's okay. When you're a baby, you don't get to choose where you are, what you're listening to, who your parents are, anything like that. You're just there. And sometimes you cry because life is hard and people don't understand you. And so, yeah, it's frustrating. Sometimes you're there, you're watching the 16th video, you're just like, I know there's a book out there that will tell me what this means in English, and I could just go look it up. Don't do it. Why? You're doing the experiment, do it.
Yeah.
But this is the reality of the situation. I mean, I hope that you love every video. That'd be great. You know, it's the best part of your day. That'd be awesome. Yeah. But if it's not, that doesn't mean that it's not working or that you should stop. Mm-hmm. Just push through. Just push through. Keep watching the video. You're still going to get the input. Yes. Because your subconscious is doing it. You're not doing it. No. So as long as you put yourself in the situation, you will get the results. So that's, I mean, look at that as a message of hope. Yeah. Not like, oh, this is so hard. I should do something else, blah, blah, blah. Look at it as, even if you're not enjoying every minute of it, it's still going to work. So that's what I would say is the biggest thing.
Nice. Thank you. Would you say that any part of this surprised you? Because, I mean, you were already sold an ALG. So you kind of came into this knowing what it would be and what you had certain expectations and they seem to have been borne out. But was there anything that surprised you?
You know, I think it's you constantly need to be reminded of things in life, even things that you already know. And one of the things that this course reminded me of was that you don't need to know every word, and that because I've been doing Spanish for so long, and because there's so many cognates and everything, it's really hard to miss a word now. And I mean, I'm on the intermediate advanced level, so I mean, there's that. You're gonna like know words now, you know. But to just be in an environment where I know nothing, and to deal with that pain, it was very painful. And what do you do with that pain? You breathe. Okay, I'm like looking at images, and like they say, like he says in his book, From the Outside In, it's like standing under a waterfall. You can't count the droplets of water. You're just getting soaked in the water, and you can't keep up, which is really good. And I love it. And I love that you didn't hold back and try to like point to something and be like, this is blah, 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 and just repeat it 3 times and then move on. You're just going all over. And so I really, I was reminded of that, and that is helpful for people, because if you can concentrate and then translate and then realize and then figure out and then all these other things, we're just translating in a different way.
Yeah.
So being able to do that, and as a previous teacher myself, I'm always looking whenever I, whenever I'm watching Dreaming Spanish videos, or was watching your videos, or was watching a teacher in the past, I'm always analyzing what they're doing, so that I can be better.
Yeah.
And just a specific compliment I want to give you. I loved your sounds were really good. they were so, I don't know, so accurate. It seemed like you were using like you'd edited the video. They were so good. I love the pitch of everything. So that was awesome.
They were fun. They were fun.
Yeah, it was great. And just how what I kind of learned when I went to AUA for 2 weeks was that probably the simplest way to train a teacher in this would be to say, you have a hook and then you talk about the hook. And what I mean by the hook is that you weren't, and I find myself doing this too, because I kind of went from TPRS to ALG. So I get too specific about like the classroom has to be 100% comprehensible. So they have to understand every single word. And that you just like, you had these like 4 pictures, and then you would talk, and then you're doing a lot of stuff with the hands. And I'm like, I'm sure there was a way that I could have understood every single word.
Right.
And you could have taught it that way, but you didn't. It gave me that pure experience. And also the reminder that it's gonna come through the context. Not every single word has to be a visual, things like that. So it was really good in that sense. And I really appreciated just how you didn't hold back. And, it was up to me to deal with the doubt and the pain and the things like that. Because like you said, I mean, it is, because as adults, we want to try, we want to be good at something from the very first day.
Yeah.
And it's a humbling process.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be. You have to be humble to the language, and to the native speakers, and to all that thing. And so, I look at it as you're getting a lot of benefits. You're getting a whole new language. You're getting a meditation session. You're learning to control your emotions. Like I whenever I'm studying a language, acquiring is the proper word, as we know. But I always look at those benefits, and if anything emotional ever comes up, I think about a baby. They're not always happy. They're not always, and sometimes they are. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes, I mean, I laughed. I was frustrated. I went through the whole spectrum of emotions with your videos, and that's great.
Acquisition.
The 5 stages of language acquisition. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh.
What is it? There's Nile.
There's grief,
Negotiation. Depression. Yeah.
anger.
Anger. There you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So but just overall an amazing experience, and something that I don't know if we're allowed to tell the secret that we were talking about over Instagram, but something that I'm going to continue. You're going to, stage 2. What's level 2? What's the next 10 hours?
I have a day job, man. And honestly, it's not a job. It's not one I can leave either. So this was a pandemic hobby thing. I could never do it again.
But using
really
other
just
content,
finishing off, really.
yeah, but using other content and stuff, I'm looking to see, how far I can go with this, and because this is my first experience with a not complete ALG, because I agree with you. I think it would take 50 hours. But to challenge myself like this and to see how I can speak and how uncomfortable that feels when we're 20% in and stuff like that. I think it was fun. And it shows what it needs to show, and it proves what you set out to prove.
Well, thank you very much. You're very kind. I mean, as somebody who's come at it from a TPRS teacher, I'm quite interested, because the thing is, like I said in my interview with Alvaro, if I was ever in the position of doing freelance teaching at some kind of a company like I did in the past once, I would probably use TPRS because I know I can sell it. And the thing is, what I'm thinking, you can confirm or correct me. What I'm feeling, based on some of the feedback I've got from the TPRS people, is that they're jumping into the method without getting the full theory. Because what I thought was my problem was convincing people to trust their subconscious for long enough to have a benefit. So it's like, if it's a natural language, like with Russians, like I've done about 40 hours so far, and I can feel its effects. But 40 hours is a long time to invest in something when you don't really have anything to show for it yet. You can't really say anything yet. It's a leap of faith. So the main thing I was doing here was like, okay, no, comprehensible input means you can follow the story. That's also why I wasn't holding back. Can you follow the main point of the story? It doesn't even need to be the whole thing. If you can retell it more or less in English or your own language, then that's it. You've got it. It's comprehensible input, right? So I'm not going to hold back, because I+1 is automatically provided. There you go. Take Krashen at his word. And I thought that was the main thing I needed to prove. But like I said in the beginning, this contrast between transparent input and comprehensible input, I mean, I on the one hand, I feel like this is something that people involved with CI methods need to understand more and need to experience themselves, even if they do have to keep with the method because that's what they can sell. On the other hand, I worry that, I'm a translator. I don't have any letters after my name. I'm not a researcher. I'm not an academic. I'm just some guy with a YouTube channel and some spare time, and that's all I am. The only reason anybody should listen to me is because they can go and try my videos, and if they work, well then, Jan Telekoman might know a thing or two. But that's all I've got. And I'm really concerned about, overplaying my hand in that sense. It's like, I genuinely feel like I have something helpful to say and to share, but at the same time, I know I need to stay humble here. And these K-12 teachers, I don't know how I would deal with that world. I don't know. I don't want to be misunderstood here at all. At the same time, I do feel like there is something to be said here for the TPRS world or the CI world. I don't know. What's your take on that whole conversation?
I think to me, it's always been a scale of CI. And there's people on one end of the scale who say, oh, so you're saying I should be able to watch a French movie with English subtitles and then I'll be able to speak French? Who are like on this very far end of the spectrum, who are like, oh, okay. When it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. To ALG, which is like, no, you're gonna understand like 5-10%. You're gonna follow the story like you're saying, but if you did the percentage wise of the words individual that you understood, probably going to be very low in the beginning. And so I think that TPR is just further towards this end of the scale, but they're not all the way at the end.
Yeah.
So that means that they're closer to this end of the scale. And if you're closer to this end of the scale, you want to understand every single thing.
Yeah. And
so you will find, based on individual teachers, how much they are, when teaching, how much they are willing to let their students not understand.
Right.
Or how much they are willing to let their students understand. And a lot of, I would say, I mean, from everything I've read and all of that stuff, that, you know, TPRS comes at it from your class should be 90 to 100% comprehensible.
They mean transparent.
Which is palatable for a lot of people.
Yes.
And so if you went into a class and you don't, and it's weird because you kind of have to, you have to know an advocate for ALG, or you have to have read from the outside in, or it's like you have to know about the method to actually give it a chance.
Sure.
But what your videos have done is actually know. You can give it a chance without knowing the method, experience it for yourself, because that's with everything in life, because everything in life is a skill. Language learning is not a skill. And everybody says, you'll have this guru, well, learning a language is like playing the guitar. Learning a language is like going to the gym. Learning a language is, and they are not correct. In books, any book you read, look out for it now. You're going to see people who are going to have their argument, their main argument of the book, whatever book you're reading or whatever. And in tons of books out there, they're going to say, it's just like learning a language. First, you learn the words, then you learn the grammar.
Yes. Yes.
Step by step, you get better and better. There is this use of words around the world. We even say, hey, do you speak Chinese?
Yeah.
Hey, do you speak Arabic? Do you speak Turkish? Even the way that we talk is propping up this method that is anti or counter ALG.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult to get people to understand what's going on. But yeah, I think it's just, you kind of have to, I don't know. That's why I love your videos, because they give that experiential piece that wasn't available. That wasn't available. So now we don't have to fight the battle of, well, just believe me.
Right.
Like I can, whatever point you bring up, I can argue back and beat you in a debate. That is sort of helpful. You know, you get the information out there and stuff, but being able to experience something for yourself, especially as adults, is what we want and what we need.
Yeah. Cool. We could talk for hours. I'm sure we could talk.
We could. I think all your other videos were like 20 or 30 minutes, and this one has been like an hour.
Don't worry about it. You know, this was good. This was good. You know, each conversation is unique, and I like that. I mean, it's data, but it's also something interesting. I think we have both boxes ticked at the same time. Yeah.
I look forward to watching now I'm gonna let myself go and watch the interview videos, and I'm looking forward to seeing other people's perspectives, because yeah, as a proponent for ALG and stuff, I want to, like, how did these people learn about these videos and what did they think before and after, because it will help me talk to people who don't understand the method, who are, you know, hesitant or this, and to get more people's ideas. And so I'm really looking forward to watching those interviews and watching your future interviews and all of the data that you collect.
Okay, well, you know, knock yourself out. It's all for free on YouTube. But yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Luke. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks for this fascinating conversation. And I hope you stick around. You know, there's always the comments, right? It's like if you think of some other interesting thought, you know, please do share it.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions for me as a person who's finished the 30-day challenge, put them below. I'll be checking back to the video, you know, for the rest of my life. It's just so cool. Seriously, man. Seriously. I just want to say, like, what you've done for this world of ALG and comprehensible input. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because there's only a few people doing stuff, and every little bit counts.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. All right, well, let's wrap up with that then. So if you want to go watch these videos, like I said before, you need to go to YouTube and you search for the abbreviation OPETP, which stands for pilin Toki Pona, which is what this video series is called. And if you would like to take the challenge yourself, then you need to visit bit.ly/30DCIC, standing for 30-day Comprehensible Input Challenge. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next victim. Pona tawa sina yan luo. Mitawa.